The other day, I was browsing YouTube on my phone and I ran across this community post from PragerU. This post contained a poll with a single sentence. Most of leftism is an avoidance of pain. Agree or disagree? Now, my gut instinct, because it's PragerU, was to go, no, of course not, obviously. But the more that I sat and thought about it, the more I wasn't sure that I was right. I wanted to genuinely really engage with this and think about what this statement meant. So that's what this video is for. In this video, I want to figure out 3 things about this post. What does it mean? Is it true? And is it good or bad? So let's get to it. Before we can even answer the question that they've posed, we need to figure out what they mean by avoidance of pain, because this is such a weird way to phrase this idea, right? So I did a little bit of digging, and I came across this PragerU video about the differences between the left and the right, and how that difference comes down to the left's fear of pain. But listen to how they define pain.
At the core of left-wing thought is a denial of painful realities, the denial of what the French call les faits de la vie, facts of life, because people on the left find it too painful to look reality in the eye and acknowledge that human nature is deeply flawed. One might say that leftism appeals to those who wish to remain innocent. Growing up and facing the fact that life is messy, difficult, and painful is increasingly a conservative point of view.
To PragerU, pain is basically the acknowledgement of the tough facts of life. Reality sucks, and people are inherently bad, and leftists are just afraid of believing that's the case. And they're avoiding pain by being hopeful and optimistic, by believing that the world can get better and that people are good. They are afraid of the facts of life that are too painful to acknowledge. But I think that pain is more than that, too. If we look at a lot of their other videos, we can see that pain to them is also hard work and failure and not getting your way. Pain is any amount of discomfort or conflict. And this is something that we could apply to any partisan issue, like welfare programs. The left wants to give stuff to people who didn't earn it, and if those people want money or food or housing, they should work for it. You can't just have things for free, you need to suck it up and work hard. Or trans rights. The left doesn't want to acknowledge that there are only 2 genders and that gender doesn't change, and instead they want to pander to the feelings of trans people and tell them it's okay to feel that way, instead of telling them the hard truths of basic biology, or even COVID responses. The left is generally pro-vaccine, mask mandates, and social distancing measures, but people on the right are more in favor of the, well, we're all gonna get it eventually, so let's just let it happen and let herd immunity do its thing method. It's a painful reality that we're all gonna have to deal with eventually, so why not just rip the band-aid off all at once? But this brings us to our next question. Is this all true? I mean, this is what the right thinks the left believes. It's what they think drives the decision-making and policies of left-leaning people, but is this actually accurate to reality? Well, to answer that, I want to take you on a little social psychology tangent. So there's this thing called regulatory focus theory, and regulatory focus theory posits that people tend to pursue pleasure and avoid pain. That's just naturally what drives our decision-making. For instance, you might buy a car that's cool and sporty, which would be pursuing pleasure, or what regulatory focus theory calls a promotion goal. Or you might get a car that's safe and reliable, which would be avoiding pain, or what regulatory focus theory calls a prevention goal. While we all use this paradigm to make our decisions, different kinds of people tend to prioritize one or the other more often. Studies have shown that individuals with an independent self-view tend toward promotion goals, whereas those with an interdependent self-view tend toward prevention goals. In other words, people who are focused on themselves as individuals prioritize pursuing pleasure, but people who see themselves as part of a community prioritize avoiding pain. I once read that the fundamental difference between the right and the left comes down to thinking of things in terms of individuals versus thinking of things in terms of systems. People on the right usually focus on personal responsibility and individual choices, whereas people on the left focus on systems and structures and hierarchies. For instance, think about conversations about police brutality, where folks on the left see systemic racism, people on the right see individual bad apples. If we combine this with regulatory focus theory, then the conclusion is that people who see issues as individual tend toward pursuing pleasure. People who see things as systems tend toward avoiding pain. Now, I am extrapolating from marketing research and working with generalizations and applying the conclusions to a bigger, broader point. But if we are thinking in terms of generalizations, then it turns out PragerU is right. Generally speaking, leftists prioritize avoiding pain. Sort of. The pain they're avoiding isn't necessarily an acknowledgement of life's hard truths. It's usually literally pain. It's physical, psychological, economic pain. People on the left care about their communities, and they want to help the people in their communities to be as pain-free as possible. In that sense, yes, leftists want to avoid pain. But let's take this back to PragerU's definition of pain. PragerU thinks that leftists are afraid of reality. Reality is hard, it's painful, it's full of unfortunate truths that leftists don't want to believe. Is that true? I don't think so. I think that the issue here is that PragerU and their viewers have a fundamentally different view of the world than people on the left have. People on the right see things as immutable. Facts are facts, and no new data can change things. The world is one thing, and it's up to us to learn to exist to the best of our ability in that world. Things might suck, but it's a dog-eat-dog world where only the best survive. Whereas people on the left see things as more fluid. There is constantly new information to be learned. Things change, and it's up to us to roll with those changes and alter our mindsets accordingly. But this fluidity also means that we have the power to change things. If we see something that sucks, we can work to change it. Nothing is static. If we take these different worldviews into account, we can see where this disconnect happens. It's not that leftists are ignoring harsh realities, it's that they're showing that those things aren't reality at all. And conversely, it's not that people on the right are accepting those harsh realities, it's that they're holding on to inaccurate beliefs because it's easier than confronting the idea that they might be wrong. So, in that sense, no, leftism is not about avoiding pain. So all told, PragerU is kind of right, just not for the reasons they think they are, and they're also wrong, but they're wrong in ways that are way too big to get into right now, so let's assume that PragerU is right. Leftists want to avoid pain by helping people and offering safety nets, etc., and let's take that idea and ask the final question. Is this good? Or is this bad? How can avoiding pain be a bad thing? On its surface, avoiding pain sounds like a really logical, natural thing, right? But a lot of our policies, especially economic policies, are built on the idea that pain isn't just unavoidable, but necessary for a functional society. In a nutshell, conservative politics often revolve around tightening the national budget, cutting public spending, lowering taxes, deregulation, and generally just decreasing the reach and size of government. This is what's called austerity, and it's the basis of Reaganomics. We have this idea that for the economy to work, we must go through a tough tightening of our belts. We have to suck it up and deal with not getting everything we want. And this is the line of thinking that a lot of people use when arguing against welfare programs. We can't just have whatever we want for free. That's not how it works. So a lot of our economic policies are built on the idea that pain is necessary for society to function. And you can also connect this to the Protestant work ethic and our obsession with self-made success stories and pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. If things are hard, don't complain. It won't get you anywhere. Just suck it up and deal with the pain and move forward. Through this lens, pain is not just a good thing, but a necessary thing. Any economy not built on pain is just a fantasy for babies. But this is just the capitalist realism talking. We're so ingrained in this system that necessitates an underclass that we can't see any alternative. But to PragerU, a group founded on the principles of capitalism and the free marketplace of ideas, pain and competition and ruthlessness are the only viable options. But there's another angle of this that I want to look at. Let me read you Hebrews chapter 12, verses 7 through 11. Endure hardship as discipline. God is treating you as his children, for what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined, and everyone undergoes discipline, then you're not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good, in order that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Here again, pain is framed as a good thing. It means we're being tested, being disciplined, being trained. You have to go through hardships now in order to get reward later. No pain, no gain. PragerU preaches Judeo-Christian values, so it would be naive to think that they aren't aware of this biblical maxim of going through pain now so you can reach heaven later. To PragerU, going through pain isn't just vital to a healthy economy, but also to the health of your eternal soul. And this isn't to say that there are no Christian leftists. There are. I know some. This is just to say that to PragerU, avoiding pain is a bad thing. If something is hurting you, it is up to you to deal with that and move past it. And to leftists, it's not a good thing. Especially when it comes to things like austerity, people on the left are generally not a fan of the whole bootstraps, survival of the fittest thing, and instead, if systems are hurting people, it's up to us to change those systems so they stop hurting people in the first place. And let's not forget that the whole thing comes down to whether people are fundamentally good or bad. Dennis Prager says that the left has posited that human nature is good. So when people do bad things to other people, some outside forces are responsible, not human nature. If people are good, then it must be systems to blame for bad things, and if systems are to blame, then we can change those systems to prevent them from hurting people. But if people aren't good, then people are to blame, and it's up to individuals to get through the pain, because getting through the pain is the only way to get what you want. The tough thing about these questions is that there isn't a real solid answer to any of this. This isn't one of those things like climate change where there's literally decades of research to back it up. This is a question that comes down to values. If you believe that God wants you to go through hardships to come out better on the other side, then you might see pain as a good thing. But if you believe that the goal of political action is to come together and work side by side to ease each other's pain for the betterment of everyone, then pain is something you may want to minimize. So why does this whole exploratory journey even matter? Well, the teacher part of me wants to say that exploration matters because it's good practice to think critically about why you believe things and what the implications of those beliefs are. It is always good to interrogate our beliefs and biases, and I think that it's even better to model what that process looks like. But more concretely, I think that we have learned a little bit about the ideology of PragerU and, by extension, the ideology of the sections of the right that they represent. Ultimately, we understand what they meant by the statement, "Most of leftism is an avoidance of pain," and we know why they think that's true, and why the avoidance of pain, to them, is a bad thing. We know that it comes down to whether people are good or bad. If people are good, then we can work together and overcome the painful things. But if people are bad, then pain is inevitable and it's naive to try to avoid it. So you better just suck it up and go through it. But it's up to us to decide whether we agree with that. And this isn't one of those videos where I'm going to tell you this is right and this other thing is wrong and you have to agree with me. Because I think that this question is a lot more personal than that. It's not a policy question, and it's not even really a political question. It's a philosophical question that comes down to your values. So feel free to share in the comments whether you agree with this or not. Personally, I am a very optimistic person who believes in the goodness of humanity or whatever, and I think that there are ways to learn and grow that aren't painful. I am hopeful, and I believe that there is a future that is better, where there's less pain and where things can be good for everyone. I just think that it's going to be a whole journey to get there. But I believe that unless we strive for better things and have hope that there are better things, things won't get better. But that's just me. So let me know in the comments what you think, and I'm really looking forward to reading all of your responses. But until next time, be safe out there, folks. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. This one was a little different from my usual stuff, but I've been trying some new things recently just to experiment and see what I like and see what you like. So let me know down in the comments if you want more of these short, more exploratory kinds of videos. And also, I apologize for sounding like this. I am recovering from a cold, but I wanted to get this video made and out before I moved. So hopefully it wasn't too distracting. Sorry about that again. Anyway, I want to give a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members whose names are scrolling by over here. Someday I will learn which side is which. And I want to give an especially huge thanks to A Tasty Snack, Adam, Dylan, Jaded Flames, Justin Lowry, Robert Bradford, Science Punk Sellout, and Will Swanson, without whom this video just wouldn't exist. And finally, we have our patron poem of the video. For Kirsten Collins, here is On the Shelf at Moe's Hunting and Hardware in Blissville, Kentucky. You'd been there for months, gathering dust, waiting for the right Carhartt jacket or trucker hat and work boots to stop and pick you up, take you home, maybe whittle some wood or even skin a deer if you were lucky. You envied her, that Damascus steel blade, all dark and curves, who sat in that glass case behind the counter. It held all the precious things. Bullets and shotgun shells and little tins of snuff. And her. She had been folded with care by rough, tender hands, folded over on herself again and again and again, pounded and hammered and beaten and plunged into ice-cold water, until she was beautiful. And until next time, stay safe, stay warm, and I will see y'all again soon, I hope. Bye, folks. All right, I'm gonna go drink some tea because I'm struggling. All aboard the struggle bus. Choo choo.